A reading from the book of Numbers, chapter 11. The people began to complain to the Lord about their troubles. When the Lord heard them, he became angry and sent fire on the people. It burned among them and destroyed one end of the camp. The people cried out to Moses for help. He prayed to the Lord, and the fire died down. So the place was named Taberah, because there the fire of the Lord burned among them. There were foreigners traveling with the Israelites. They had a strong craving for meat, and even the Israelites themselves began to complain. If only we could have some meat. In Egypt, we used to eat all the fish we wanted, and it cost us nothing. Remember the cucumbers, the watermelons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic we had? But now our strength is gone. There is nothing at all to eat, nothing but this manna day after day. Manna was like small seeds, whitish yellow in color. It fell on the camp at night, along with the dew. The next morning, the people would go around and gather it, grind it or pound it into flour, and then boil it and make it into flat cakes. It tasted like bread baked with olive oil. Moses heard all the people complaining as they stood around in groups at the entrances of their tents. He was distressed because the Lord had become angry with them, and he said to the Lord, "Why have you treated me so badly? Why are you displeased with me? Why have you given me the responsibility for all these people? I didn't create them or bring them to birth. Why should you ask me to act like a nurse and carry them in my arms like babies all the way to the land you promised to their ancestors? Where could I get enough meat for all these people? They keep whining and asking for meat. I can't be responsible for all these people by myself. It's too much for me. If you are going to treat me like this, have pity on me and kill me so that I won't have to endure your cruelty any longer." The Lord said to Moses, "Assemble 70 respected men who are recognized as leaders of the people. Bring them to me at the tent of my presence and tell them to stand there beside you. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the Spirit I have given you and give it to them. Then they can help you bear the responsibility for these people, and you will not have to bear it alone. Now, tell the people, purify yourselves for tomorrow. You will have meat to eat. The Lord has heard you whining and saying that you wished you had some meat and that you were better off in Egypt. Now the Lord will give you meat, and you will have to eat it. You will have to eat it not just for 1 or 2 days, or 5 or 10, or even 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your ears, until you are sick of it. This will happen because you have rejected the Lord who is here among you and have complained to him that you should never have left Egypt." Moses said to the Lord, "Here I am, leading 600,000 people, and you say that you will give them enough meat for a month? Could enough cattle and sheep be killed to satisfy them? Are all the fish in the sea enough for them? Is there a limit to my power?" The Lord answered, "You will soon see whether what I have said will happen or not." So Moses went out and told the people what the Lord had said. he assembled 70 of the leaders and placed them around the tent. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to him. He took some of the spirit he had given Moses and gave it to the 70 leaders. When the Spirit came on them, they began to shout like prophets, but not for long. 2 of the 70 leaders, Eldad and Medad, had stayed in the camp and had not gone out to the tent. There in the camp, the Spirit came on them, and they too began to shout like prophets. A young man ran out to tell Moses what Eldad and Medad were doing. Then Joshua, son of Nun, who had been Moses' helper since he was a young man, spoke up and said to Moses, "Stop them, sir." Moses answered, "Are you concerned about my interests? I wish that the Lord would give his Spirit to all his people and make all of them shout like prophets." Then Moses and the 70 leaders of Israel went back to camp. Suddenly, the Lord sent a wind that brought quails from the sea, flying 3 feet above the ground. They settled on the camp and all around it for miles and miles in every direction. So all that day, all night, and all the next day, the people worked catching quails. No one gathered less than 50 bushels. They spread them out to dry all around the camp. While there was still plenty of meat for them to eat, the Lord became angry with the people and caused an epidemic to break out among them. That place was named Kibroth Hatava, which means graves of craving, because there they buried the people who had craved meat. From there the people moved to Hazeroth, where they made camp. The word of the Lord. A reading from the book of Numbers, chapter 12. Moses had married a Cushite woman, and Miriam and Aaron criticized him for it. They said, "Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he also spoken through us?" The Lord heard what they said. Moses was a humble man, more humble than anyone else on earth. Suddenly the Lord said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, "I want the 3 of you to come out to the tent of my presence." They went, and the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud, stood at the entrance of the tent, and called out, "Aaron, Miriam." The 2 of them stepped forward, and the Lord said, "Now hear what I have to say. When there are prophets among you, I reveal myself to them in visions and speak to them in dreams. It is different when I speak with my servant Moses. I have put him in charge of all my people Israel. So I speak to him face to face, clearly and not in riddles. He has even seen my form. How dare you speak against my servant Moses?" The Lord was angry with them, and so as he departed and the cloud left the tent, Miriam's skin was suddenly covered with a dreaded disease and turned as white as snow. When Aaron looked at her and saw that she was covered with the disease, he said to Moses, "Please, sir, do not make us suffer this punishment for our foolish sin. Don't let her become like something born dead, with half its flesh eaten away." So Moses cried out to the Lord, "O God, heal her." The Lord answered, "If her father had spit in her face, she would have to bear her disgrace for 7 days. So Let her be shut out of the camp for a week, and after that she can be brought back in. Miriam was shut out of the camp for 7 days, and the people did not move on until she was brought back in. Then they left Hazeroth and set up camp in the wilderness of Paran. The word of the Lord.